Now, there's a famous verse. It's a benediction of sorts. It's right at the end of Psalm 121. I suspect it may sound familiar to you. And it goes like this. The Lord shall watch over your going out and your coming in from this time forth forevermore. And embedded in there is a circumlocution for everyday living, this going out and coming in. It is Bible speak, if you will, for daily life. Moses uses this phrase, in fact, right at the end of his life. He's speaking to the gathered assembly of Israel, the entire nation, and he says to them, I am 120 years old today. I am no longer able to go out or come in. It reminds me of breathing, this coming in and this going out. Right? Or maybe the daily grind of going to work and coming home. You go out to work and come in to home. We know that there's more to life than simply being not dead. And the Bible reminds us of that. It communicates that in this wonderful little phrase, go out and come in. Joshua used this figure of speech. Solomon and Isaiah spoke like this. And Jesus used it, which is why I am bringing it before you today. The title of my sermon this morning is The Jesus Gate. And it's centered on verse 9 of our reading from the Gospel of John. If you look at it there, it is, I am the gate. Whoever enters by me will be saved and will come in and go out and find pasture. Now, first, a word about the metaphor. Jesus says in the Gospels, I am a lot of things. I am the truth. I am the way. I am the light. I am the life. I am the good shepherd. But I am the gate rarely makes it onto the greatest hits compilations of Jesus' I am sayings. And what is he talking about? Well, first, you have to let go of the image of like a cattle guard and an idling pickup truck and someone futzing with a length of chain around a big steel gate set in a length of barbed wire fence. Jesus did not say, I am the ranch gate. He said, I am the gate. And in Jesus' day, he's talking about the gate of a sheepfold. And what would happen is shepherds would bring the sheep into the sheepfold, which was an enclosed area, sometimes naturally enclosed, sometimes built up with walls. It was an enclosed area with only one entrance and one exit. And then the shepherd would lie down across that entrance and exit point. There was no other gate. The shepherd was the gate. But this was okay, because for the sheep to get out, they would have to go over the shepherd. And sheep are known neither for their stealthiness nor for their vertical leaping ability. And so this worked. And a thief would face a similar hurdle, right? Literally. And the shepherd was, in his very life, in his very existence, the personal guarantor of the safety of the sheep. So he would keep them safe when they were in the sheepfold. He would take them out and keep them safe, and then bring them back in safely. It's coming in and going out, coming in and going out. All the time led, protected, guided, cared for by the shepherd who was himself the gate. Now, I'm just guessing here, but I believe if I had stopped you before the service and I'd said, hey, did you know that Jesus said, I am the gate, whoever enters by me will be saved? And then said, what do you think Jesus was talking about? I think, had you not just looked at me funny, like this is a strange question, go away, had you actually answered it, I think what you would have probably said is heaven, right? But this can't be about heaven because of all the going in and coming out. I don't know about you, but I don't plan to go out once I come in, right? Like, it can't be about heaven because there are thieves and bandits around. It can't be about heaven because, to use the words of the famous psalm, like, sooner or later we find ourselves in the valley of the shadow of death. And the valley of the shadow of death is not a place on the geographical map of heaven. Shepherding is something we need right now in this life. We need to be shepherded to heaven. In fact, we need to be saved until our salvation becomes fully realized. Now, there are a lot of coming and goings, God willing, for you and I between now and then. And his protection and care and guidance and love is what Jesus promises us. So think, if you would, about your comings and goings in a given week or a given month. For many of us, tomorrow will bring with it the expectation that we come in to the office. Whose shepherd will you be? Or whose sheep will you be? Will you be the Lord's under his guidance, or will you be the sheep of whatever company's ID or logo is printed onto your ID badge? And what if the two shepherds want different things? Or what about the next time you go out on the town? Will the decisions you make at the bar or behind the wheel be the decisions that the you that is sitting here right now would want you to make, or that the Lord would want you to make? And what would happen when the town you go out on is out of town, and there's no chance that anyone you know will know what happens? Do you think you can go out of town and come into DFW again, and what happened in Vegas or Topeka or Shreveport or whatever will stay there? And surely you know that sooner or later, the gifts with which you've been given and with which you've honed over the year, the gifts and talents you have, that they will come in handy for the sake of Christ's kingdom. And that you may even have to go out of your way to use them. And there are examples of this all around us. The banners, and the partitions, and the altar vestments, and the music, and the setup, and the tear down. I mean, we are here this morning because sheep in the fold of Christ have gone out of their way to use their gifts and skills when they came in handy for the service of the Lord. And you might be next. When the clothes you are wearing now, or the clothes you bought for the adolescent who lives in your house who begged and begged and begged because all her friends have them, when those clothes go out of style, right, and something else comes into style, you know, Jesus will still be there. Jesus will love you just as much no matter what you are wearing, which sounds like a really trite and silly thing to even bother saying until you remember that the rest of the world doesn't actually work that way at all. When a boy or girl you've always liked finally asks, will you go out with me? Will you intertwine your fingers in theirs and walk through each next step of your relationship with the Lord in it? What about when the answer to will you go out with me is no? You bear your broken heart and let the Good Shepherd care for you? When anger or frustration takes a hold of you, or stress or anxiety, and you come in hot on a friend or a family member or a coworker or just a waitress, right? And you scald them with your fury, will you be the Lord's sheep then? You ask for forgiveness. Or are you being called to go out on a limb? To take a risk in your career, to follow your passions, even to go out on a limb for the sake of the Lord, to go out on a limb and invite someone to church, or maybe to broach the unspeakable with the one who shall not be named, whatever and whomever that is in your particular life. Maybe go out on a limb and stand up for an immigrant, even one whose immigration status you're not entirely confident about. What about to go out on a limb and meet with one of your priests and tell us about the passion the Lord has laid on your heart so that we can pray about it and figure out how to bring that to fruition. And then at the end, do you want to go out in this life with a bang or with a whimper? I mean, it seems like the easy answer to that is go out with a bang, but I go back and forth. There's something about spending one's final days measuring afternoons by coffee spoons, too old to work and too stubborn to stay in bed, that doesn't sound so terrible to me. You know, however we go out at the end, until then, we need to be able to go in peace and to come in peace. Not peace in the sense that nothing bad will ever happen, but peace that ultimately, come what may, the shepherd will be there for us. There's this great opening line from the poet Gerard Manley Hopkins. He begins his poem, "The world is charged with the grandeur of God." What he's speaking there about is the natural world. But that image, being charged with the grandeur of God, is a most apt description of what our life is supposed to be like as as sheep of Christ the shepherd. All our comings, all our goings, they are to be shot through with the glory of God. There's a famous ritual practiced by the Notre Dame football team. And as they leave the locker room and they go out onto the field, they pass this sign that's hung on the wall. And on the sign are written the words, "Play like a champion today." And each player, as they go past this sign, they touch it as they go by. It's like the gate through which they go out onto the field. Now, sure, this is basically a pagan good luck charm, right? But The idea is that those words infuse everything they do out on the field. Play like a champion is the ideal. It's supposed to shape their going out. And when they come in, back to the locker room at halftime, or when the game is over, they touch it all again. Going out and coming in. Jesus wants to be like that for your life and for mine. At a practical level, it might not be a terrible idea to put a cross by the door and touch it every day as you go out and come in. But the difference is that Jesus is no pagan good luck charm. He is not some dead piece of sheet metal. Jesus is the living God and man. So it is neither the idea nor the ideal of Jesus that we are taking with us as we go out and come in, but the living Son of God himself. He wants to be a part of all our going outs and coming ins. That is what it means to be his sheep. And if you look at the rest of verse 9, what is promised there is that if we do that, we will be saved, both in the heavenly sense and safe, I think, in the spiritual sense, and we will find pasture. You will find pasture. And what that means is that you will find sustaining, substantive, healthy things to learn and do and be a part of. I came that you may have life and might have it abundantly. It's the last thing Jesus says there in our reading this morning. And that's not just a heavenly promise, right? That is a gift he wants to bring to us right now. Be his sheep, which means that all your going outs and your coming ins must go through him. He must be the gate through which everything in your life passes. So whether you are going out on a limb, coming into the office, going out of your way, coming in peace, going out to dinner, or coming into your own, may all your goings and comings be with the Lord Jesus, our risen Lord, the Good Shepherd and gate of the sheep.